Unfortunately, Dave, and I feel like we've been doing this too often the last couple of years, we have to start off with another major celebrity death. And this one really hit me on Saturday night when you texted me informing me that Chadwick Boseman had died at the age of 43 years old. And come to find out, he had been battling colon cancer for the last 4 years. Uh, really shocking, really saddening. My immediate thought went to all these videos of him being asked to do the Wakanda Forever thing, right? And certainly he got asked to do it to a point, and he said in interviews, he's like, I hate when people make me do it almost as like I'm a prop instead of doing it like as a salute to me.
Right.
And that made sense, but I look back to those videos now and wonder like how exhausted was he after possibly undergoing treatment that day, or just feeling not like himself. It's amazing to me that this was kept pretty much a secret. I didn't see many people who were aware that this was going
No.
on at all. What was your reaction? What are your initial thoughts after hearing this news?
Yeah. Obviously, I was completely shocked, taken aback, which I think was kind of the universal, response. No one seemed to know, as you said, which in this time, 2020, the fact that something could go completely unleaked for such a long time is pretty astounding. And then when you think that he had been diagnosed with cancer and then proceeded to make multiple Marvel films and The Five Bloods and 21 Bridges and Marshall as well, like it's kind of crazy, to think that like for the majority of the time he was in the public consciousness, he was battling cancer and no one had
Yeah.
any idea. It's pretty crazy.
It's absolutely crazy and just completely saddening and dismaying. It's testament to him that he played so many iconic roles in his life. From Jackie Robinson to Thurgood Marshall to James Brown. He's embodied people, like actual people, in their stories who are legendary, as well as a legendary black superhero who was the star of a movie that had a huge cultural impact. It made over $1 billion. Like
Hmm.
maybe he wasn't the most enjoyable part of that film. I think like Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger has gotten a lot of love for that. I think just the story and the obviously Coogler's direction has gotten a lot of love, and I think sometimes Chadwick playing like the thankless like hero role in a sense where he's just kind of
Hmm.
like the steady person, and all of this is gets overlooked, but really just I think an amazing career, and it's hard to think like how many other things he could have, how many other great roles he could have done, and it's not going to get the opportunity now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and speaking of Black Panther grossed $700 million in the U.S. One of only four movies to do that. It was incredibly uh, important, infectious moment. I think that goes without saying, and kind of that understated grace that came with Boseman's portrayal of T'Challa really, stands through. And Black Panther is my favorite MCU movie, and I think it's definitely one of the best ones because it's one of the few examples where you have directorial style really shining through in the usually homogenized MCU. Ryan Coogler uh, brought a lot of other elements into a superhero IP mass market entertainment film. Think of the stuff with Sterling K. Brown. Think of the stuff when uh, Killmonger's fading away, right? And like,
Mm-hmm.
remember, everyone remembers like the stark, like purple background and all that, right?
Yep.
And I think Boseman, portraying T'Challa and having people see that on screen, I think the common refrain has been that actually seeing black characters as royalty, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, went a long way. We've always gotten black characters portrayed, historically speaking, usually as slaves, right? But to see something like that, something so triumphant and proud, and not
Mm-hmm.
afraid to be what it is, which is black, uh, it earned all that money. And I mean, just think, and one of the things I was thinking, I was like, oh, geez, they're going to make a Black Panther 2. I believe it's dated for 2022. Coogler is returning, which I think was a bit of a surprise given how great a filmmaker he is. What do they do now? Because obviously they're going to revisit that film, and I guess the obvious plan is have Letitia Wright Shuri take over. But I mean, who really cares about that? Because it's just the loss of Boseman. It's just so tough, and I was really affected by this too. I mean, I felt some like real grief because, and I was just thinking like, in terms of African American actors, I mean, most of the big black actors these days are English. Idris, Boyega, more new people like Michaela Cole, Letitia Wright, David Oello, right? Apart from like Michael B, there really isn't someone who's reached the top tier of stardom that's African American. Usually they're English guys, right?
Yeah,
Like
certainly in that age bracket too.
Yeah, it's funny. Like you think about Boseman's career, he's not that much younger than Will Smith, but Will Smith was in movies such a long stretch of time that you cannot think about them in the same way when it comes to movies, right? I think the only one I could really compare would be Mahershala Ali in terms of like the length of their careers when they started becoming real movie actors.
Yeah.
Daniel Mahershala obviously still persists, but like, yeah, Daniel Kaluuya, but he's English as well.
I was gonna say he must. Yep.
But I mean, even in general, like you have Will Smith, you have Jamie Foxx. After that, and then Mahershala, obviously, who's pretty nascent.
Denzel, obviously,
and Denzel's the OG. But I was thinking, like, who's been next up for African Americans? Probably O'Shea Jackson Jr., I guess. Corey Hawkins.
I was wondering if Winston Duke might fit that bill.
That's a good one.
And I was actually, when I was thinking about what does the Black Panther franchise do now, I was wondering if Winston Duke might be kind of tabbed to fill in that role in some way. But he was obviously in Us playing the one of the lead roles as the father, and I could see him potentially stepping up, getting some more roles. But yeah, it's amazing because
Brian Tyree Henry hasn't really starred much. He's been mainly a TV star.
So I guess Lakeith Stanfield might be
that's probably it
into that role. And I guess wherever you sit with Donald Glover, he's probably also somewhere in that conversation. So it's basically
depends on how much he wants to act, really. Yeah,
right. It's like Atlanta and then Black Panthers, where you're getting a lot of these names from. It's funny. When I was thinking about it, it's all these roles he played were almost like saintly in some sense. I mean, especially you think about Storm and Norman. The last role people have seen him in a big movie. In The Five Bloods, he was almost like this Jesus-like character in a lot of senses. And to lose a guy that not only portrayed those type of characters and had that gravitas on screen, but also from all accounts, everything we've heard was just a really sweet, thoughtful, inspiring, and caring person off it. It's like,
right,
man, it really does seem like the best people are here the shortest in a lot of ways. Really just saddening, and it leaves a hole that I think is going to be hard to fill, to your point.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking a lot about probably my favorite scene from Da 5 Bloods, when you have that like narration about Storm and Norman, and he was our Malcolm and our Martin. I feel like that's a quote you could almost apply to Chadwick in the way he represented Black people on the screen. And yeah, it's just kind of like an uncalculable loss, and which makes it even worse because of his age and because of how unexpected it was. He does have another movie coming up called Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which is a Netflix film. It's coming up. And Netflix actually was about to do some press for that film and obviously called that off due to the unfortunate timing. So we will see him briefly again, but I would advise everyone to obviously watch The Five Bloods if you haven't. Easy to watch on Netflix, but also Marshall. Marshall's really great. Marshall's a movie I caught later. I saw it on an airplane, but it's just one of those like compulsively watchable movies that has a really strong lead performance and teaches you a bit of history if you didn't know it. So that's obviously about Thurgood Marshall. He was really good in that one. So I haven't seen the one about James Brown, Get On Up. I wanted to seek that one out still.
Me neither. And it's interesting because I think it was the two like co-stars, or I guess he was Chadwick was obviously the star, and I'm forgetting who his like secondary character was in that, but are both gone. I saw a tweet that they both had passed away in recent years, so it'd be interesting to go back and see if there's anything to glean from that movie at all. But huge loss, huge rip. Chadwick gone way too soon. Fuck cancer.